Sitting down on an old wooden chair in the living room, Nessie took a deep breath. The simplicity of the house stood in stark contrast to the luxury he had surrounded himself with for years. There was no marble flooring here, no expensive furniture, just the warmth of a home that had once been filled with love. As he looked out of the window at the village, Nasi felt tears well up in his eyes. This was the place where he had dreamed of becoming a star, but in the pursuit of that dream, he had lost touch with the values that had grounded him. The court cases, the betrayal of those he had trusted, the realization that most of the children he had claimed were not his seed, all seemed distant now, overshadowed by the clarity that returning home had given him. He knew now what he needed to do to rebuild his life. The following day, Nsi decided to implement the advice from the spiritual healer of seeking blessings from his ancestors. NSI felt hope that reconnecting with his roots would provide more clarity he desperately needed. He decided to go and visit their family burial grounds. Upon arrival, Nsi could feel the ancestral spirits in the air, the rich tradition, and the history embedded in every corner. He approached the family graveyard, nestled behind a village, near a grove of ancient trees. The graves were simple, marked with stones and wooden carvings that bore the names of his parents and grandparents. Nasai knelt before the graves of his late parents, his heart heavy with regret and confusion. His father had been a man of great wisdom, and his mother a pillar of strength. Though they were gone, Nsi believed their spirits could still guide. He poured libations as was custom and called out to them, asking for forgiveness, wisdom, and guidance in facing the truth of his life and the responsibilities he now carried. The air around him seemed to still. He felt the presence of his mother as if she was with him, though he couldn't see her. After a long period of silence, the wind began to rustle through the leaves, and Nsi felt a presence. His ancestors were with him. Though he couldn't hear their voices, he could feel their guidance and wisdom penetrating his heart. His mind was flooded with memories of his father's teachings and his mother's songs, which had always carried messages of humility, responsibility, and honor. Nsi sat in the graveyard for hours, speaking aloud to his parents, recounting his mistakes, and confessing his deep regret. In this moment of vulnerability, NSI asked for a sign, something to show him that he was on the right path. He knew he had lost his way, chasing fame, fortune, and empty pleasures, but now he sought redemption. As if in response, the wind picked up, and the leaves of the old trees swayed in unison, their soft rustling echoing the wisdom of the ancestors. Nes left the graveyard with a heavy heart, but a clearer sense of purpose. He knew his journey was far from over, but he had regained some of the grounding he had lost. His ancestors, though no longer with him physically, would guide him through the path of redemption and restoration. After the dust settled from the confrontations with the mothers, courts of law, visitations to the spiritual healer and his childhood home, NSI realized that he had to rebuild the trust he had lost, not just with the children, but with himself. He had spent so many years living a life of indulgence and excess, believing that he was invincible. Now he had to come to terms with his own vulnerabilities and mistakes. Na decided to take a step back from the limelight and focus on personal growth. After visiting the spiritual healer in his childhood home, something he had never considered before, through the visitation, NSI started to unravel the layers of his past, understanding the deep-rooted insecurities that had led him to his lifestyle. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Slowly, Nsi began to heal, finding peace in the chaos that had once consumed him. Nsi made a vow to be present and responsible father for all the children he had once called his own, even though only one was biologically his. In an attempt to cope with the emotional turmoil, Nsi turned back to his first love, music. Music had always been his escape, and now, more than ever, he needed it to heal. He spent countless hours in the studio, pouring his heart into his songs, the music he created during this time was unlike anything he had ever produced. It was raw, emotional, and deeply personal, reflecting the pain and growth he was experiencing. Nsi released an album titled Unveiled Truth, a collection of songs that told the story of his rise, fall, and eventual redemption. The album resonated with many fans who had followed his journey and appreciated his honesty. Critics praised the depth of emotion in his lyrics, and the album became a commercial success. Nai's music began to rebuild the connection with his audience, and slowly his reputation started to recover. The world saw a new side of him, a man who was no longer just a symbol of wealth and fame, but someone who had faced his flaws and grown from them. As Nsi devoted more time to his music, he also made sure to nurture his relationship with Musa. He had missed out on so many important moments in the lives of his children, but with Musa, he was determined to do things differently. Nai spent more time at home, playing with Musa, teaching him music, and being present for every milestone in his young life. The bond between father and son grew stronger with each passing day. Musa adored his father, and the love they shared became a source of healing for Ensai. Being a father to Musa gave him a sense of purpose and fulfillment that he had never experienced before. NSI's focus on Musa also extended to his music as he began writing songs inspired by their bond. These songs became some of the most touching and heartfelt pieces he had ever composed, further solidifying his comeback as an artist and a father. While Musa became the center of Nsi's world, he knew he couldn't abandon the other children. They may not have been biologically his, but he had been their father figure for years. Nsi made a conscious effort to maintain relationships with them, providing financial support and staying involved in their lives. However, things were different now. The dynamics had shifted, and some of the children were confused and hurt by the revelations of the DNA tests. Nisai had to navigate the complex emotions of the children and their mothers. Some of the older children were angry, feeling betrayed by both NSI and their mothers. Others were indifferent, having always suspected that something was amiss. Nesi did his best to reassure them that despite the results, he still loved them and would continue to be there for them. But it was clear that the bond they once shared could never be fully restored. As Nsi stands under the old mango tree, face to face with his past, one question lingers: can he truly rebuild what fame once shattered? If this journey has touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss part 4, where NSI's path to redemption takes a powerful new turn you won't see coming.